Welcome. It is the Single African Market Program. It is the continent of Africa's #1 and the most trusted media platform that brings you all actions around this journey of Africa to integrate its economy and integrate its market. Now, we have to say a big thank you to all of you across the entire continent of Africa for making us #1, for following this platform. We have to thank you particularly because you have made this possible for the continent of Africa. We are here today, folks, and we are ready today. The continent of Africa is ready to trade under the AfCFTA, which we have followed and tracked all this while. So far, 87.7% of rules of origin have been negotiated, and the rules of origin manual has also been launched by the Council of Trade Ministers. The e-tariff book has also been launched by the Council of Trade Ministers, and the AfCFTA website, on which all these instruments and tools are seated for your guidance, has also been launched by the Council of Trade Ministers. So it is left with the continent's citizens, businesses, traders, small and medium enterprises, and citizens of the continent of Africa to commence their usage and commercially meaningful trading under the AfCFTA. This week, His Excellency Wamkele Mene, the Secretary General of the AfCFTA Secretariat, met with media owners, chief executive officers of media organizations, as well as media managers in Ghana, the commercial and trade hub of the continent of Africa, to let them know that indeed, here we are. The continent has begun trading under AfCFTA. The Secretary General hopes to communicate and also have similar engagement with the media organizations across the entire continent of Africa. Listen.
All is set for commercially meaningful trading in goods under the African Continental Free Trade Area AfCFTA agreement to commence. AfCFTA Secretary General, His Excellency Wamkele Mene, disclosed this in Accra at a meeting with media owners, CEOs, managers and senior editors, and added that the e-tariff book and the rules of origin manual are already on the AfCFTA website to be used by the continent to trade under the Continental Trading Agreement.
We have now been able to negotiate almost 90%. In fact, I think it is 88.8% convergence on rules of origin. So over these 5,000 products that we trade in Africa, we now have agreement close to 90%.
He explained that the AfCFTA Secretariat will be leading a guided trade among some countries which have demonstrated their readiness to trade under the AfCFTA. His Excellency Wamkele Mene explained that with about 40 different currencies in circulation on the continent of Africa, so far about 35 banks have signed on to the Pan-African Payment and Settlement Systems, PAPS, which is a cross-border financial infrastructure enabling payment transactions across Africa. He announced that the AfCFTA has secured $9 billion made up of $7 billion from Equity Bank and $2 billion from World Food Program, an African Export and Import Bank, AfCFTA Bank, to support areas such as value addition, agriculture, and minerals, among others. He explained that the money will be disbursed to small and medium enterprises, which are the pillars for implementation to boost private sector productivity. The AfCFTA Secretary General announced plans to raise $10 billion adjustment fund to help party states develop industrial capacity. Out of this amount, he said AfCFTA has raised $1 billion so far from the AfCFTA Bank, explaining that private companies that desire to access the fund will have to apply through their respective governments.
There are countries that simply don't have any export capacity. And so the big question is, how do we help those countries? That's why we went to AfCFTA Bank and we said we want to raise up to $10 billion for an AfCFTA adjustment fund. We've raised about $1 billion so far.
His Excellency Wamkele Mene acknowledged that the continent faces infrastructure difficulties, particularly road infrastructure bottlenecks, which require urgent attention.
Secretary General, His Excellency Wamkele Mene, with the media owners, chief executive officers of media organizations in Ghana, and he's going to engage the media owners and chief executive officers of media organizations across Africa, as well as senior editors and senior journalists, to let them know that the continent of Africa is now trading under the AfCFTA. We are ready. Commercially meaningful trading has begun. If you ever doubted it, we are here. With all the tools and instruments that have been launched, we are indeed ready. And the AfCFTA Secretariat is leading the National Coordination Office of Ghana, also Cameroon, Egypt, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, also Mauritius, to commence a guided trade in these 7 countries. So as we speak, the team is already on the ground in Takoradi, talking to and looking at how businesses are already preparing to export their products under the AfCFTA. And even now, you can trade. I got this confirmation from the spokesperson and also the head of the communications department of the AfCFTA Secretariat, the one and only dynamic Ms. Grace Koza. Listen. You met the Secretary General and yourself met with the CEOs and owners of media organizations in Ghana, and I'm hoping that you would do that with the rest of the continent as well. But where are you heading with that? Why this major sensitization? Are you telling the continent that we are here, we're ready to trade now?
My brother, the fourth estate is important. These are our partners in crime. If we are going to sit behind our doors and do the work without partnering with the likes of yourself and everybody else who's in the media space, it would not make sense. The benefit of what we are working towards would not be felt, nor would it make any changes in the lives of ordinary Africans of this continent. So we do not operate in a vacuum just for our glory and for ourselves. We operate because there's a mandate to make sure that citizens of this continent benefit. So it's important to start working on a deliberate relationship with the media. It's very critical for them to understand and appreciate who we are and what is it that we want to achieve. But importantly, as His Excellency said in our engagement here this week, is to hold us accountable.
Yeah.
You know, we're not meant to be created for us to be asking you guys to sing our praises. In actual fact, that should not be the case.
Yeah.
The reality is, if there is what we said we want to achieve on behalf of this beautiful continent, that fourth estate needs to ask, how far are you? Sometimes it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Of late, that's one of the reasons why we started with the guided trade, because people are saying, you've been established since 2020.
We're not seeing anything.
We're not seeing anything.
Yeah.
What's happening? But it's important because it helps us understand what this means and what's at stake. I mean, the different changes that will come with this agreement to ordinary citizens of this country, taking hopefully about 13 million out of poverty, you know, seeing the enhancement and the growth of industrialization in this continent, finding ways of making sure that there's value add to all these beautiful organic products that this continent produces. Those are important. But the fourth estate, the media, will be able to say, how far are you? Because sometimes we can forget.
Yeah.
You know, my boss keeps on saying, as a former trade negotiator himself, it's easy for trade negotiators to negotiate forever. But if you have somebody who would say, can we hear, how far are you with this? Who are benefit on this? And that will help the continent and us as a secretariat to be accountable.
Yeah. Now we know that we have rules. We have your instruments, the rules of origin. We have the tariff book. We have a guided trade. Can the continent start trading, or we should wait for your guided trade to end first?
The guided trade is proof of concept. Those who are ready
can start trading.
They should start trading.
And they should just contact their national offices and they can start trading.
Absolutely. They
under
should
AfCFTA.
Under the AfCFTA.
So we have commenced officially trading under AfCFTA.
Absolutely, we have.
Communications are the AfCFTA Secretariat confirming that indeed the continent of Africa is now ready to trade under AfCFTA. And the guided trade is definitely going to prove that to you. Now, if you also observe, the entire AfCFTA Secretariat values the role that the media has to play when it comes to disseminating information to the citizenry on the continent of Africa. And that's why His Excellency Wamkele Mene engaged the media owners as well as the chief executive officers and the media managers in Ghana, and hoping to do same across the entire continent of Africa. Now, one organization, very prestigious and distinguished organization on the continent of Africa, is the Trade Law Center, tralac in short. Now, they've done remarkable work around monitoring of the trade and economic space on the continent of Africa, trade law, international law, and this week they also mobilized senior journalists who report on trade across Africa to take them through how far the AfCFTA has come, so that the entire continent will know where we are and where we are going.
The Trade Law Center, tralac, is an independent capacity-building think tank established in 2001 as a non-for-profit organization which builds trade-related capacity in Africa, assisting countries to improve trade governance and inclusive policy processes to ensure that trade contributes to sustainable development outcomes. Tralac has a core network business model. The Tralac core is lean, with a team of trade experts and a professional team to provide financial, administrative, and logistical support for the design, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of Tralac's work program. In line with its mission to build trade governance capacity in Africa, supporting trade and regional integration for just and sustainable development outcomes at national, regional, continental, and multilateral levels, Tralac has held its first AfCFTA masterclass for selected senior trade journalists across Africa. The selected senior trade journalists on the continent were updated on the current state of the AfCFTA, among others. The journalists were also taken through methods and tools in reporting on AfCFTA. Tralac believes it is setting the stage to build a network of senior trade journalists who will inform the continent on AfCFTA to ensure that the agreement becomes impactful to the continent's public.
So Tralac believes that in order to get the best out of this continental trading agreement, the media has an important role to play. And that is why you saw that masterclass over there, which engaged the continent's top trade journalists, top trade senior journalists across the entire continent of Africa. And Tralac hopes to continue with this. So I engaged the executive director of the Trade Law Center, Trudy Hazenberg, to find out from her what actually motivated this and where do they want to take this next.
This is the first masterclass for senior experienced trade journalists across the continent. So we were extremely honored to have you and a number of colleagues, a small enough group to make it very interactive, to have peer learning, sharing of experiences, but also to have journalists who have been reporting on the AfCFTA consistently for quite some time, for not only conversations about the AfCFTA and a catch up with the latest developments, and in particular, of course, the announcement by the Council of Ministers at the latest meeting at the end of July on the start of facilitated and guided trade, which we expect to begin before the end of September, but also on using different media platforms, opportunities, and communicating across so many different channels, because I think this has really become the hallmark of media interaction in recent years, is that a single channel simply doesn't work. We've really got to work across channels. And certainly in some constituencies and in some countries, we do find that print news, for example, is still extremely important. But the advantage of digital media opportunities and streams is that immediately you're operating across borders. So the barriers that geopolitical borders pose to traditional media are simply transcended. We can also reach so many different constituencies. through different media platforms. So using social media platforms, for example, has become extremely important to provide hot off the press news developments, but also to get immediate feedback. And I think this is a very, very big advantage now in terms of how media operates. You get immediate feedback on what you're reporting. And therefore, this means that we're continually learning from those who are trading, those who would like to trade, take advantage of the AfCFTA, and those who are perhaps also looking for cross-border economic activities. So this is so important as we see the AfCFTA now not only as a free trade agreement, but as a platform for Africa's industrialization. So cross-border value chains are important. And I think an important point here, Samuel, is that cross-border value chains are not just for big businesses. They're also for small-scale enterprises, small-scale traders, small-scale service providers, professionals who move, say, from Ghana to provide legal services or accounting services in countries beyond, for example, the economic community of West African states, so ECOWAS to EAC to Central Africa to North Africa and Southern Africa. So the opportunities really are spreading across the continent with the AfCFTA. So I think the fact that we've now moved to the continental level with the AfCFTA as far as our trade and integration agenda is concerned offers that broader platform for the media and really for us to be creative and innovative as far as how we communicate and what we communicate. Access to information, particularly for smaller firms, can be a real barrier, be effectively a non-tariff barrier. So access to information from the media is really important, but you promote transparency as well. And that means you're supporting good governance when it comes to trade across the continent.
What role do you think that tralac can play in ensuring that journalists across all board are able to connect and information is able to come all the way from, say, the Secretariat of the AfCFTA, disseminated to the various national AfCFTA coordination offices and the various ministries of trade and industries, so that businesses across the continent are able to take advantage of them?
So, well, that's so important. We have to support the AfCFTA Secretariat. You know, they're the focal point for coordinating the negotiations, but they also have a much bigger responsibility in terms of monitoring, evaluation, even technical assistance to the state parties and the non-state parties as the negotiations continue. But it's here where the supplementary roles of non-state actors like tralac, but also the media, become extremely important, where we source information and then it travels via various networks and various constituencies across the regional economic communities, but also all the way down to the state party level, because that's really where we want to energize not only trade, but you really want to develop the entire supply chain. You want to develop productive capacity, diversify economic activity. This will make us more resilient in the post-pandemic phase, extremely important. So we're focusing on an extremely important agenda. Yes, trade and promoting trade, reducing tariff and non-tariff barriers, that comes via the AfCFTA now. And I think that's extremely important, that news about how that will happen needs to reach the constituencies so that a small-scale trader, small-scale producer in East Africa becomes aware of the opportunities beyond the EAC. Because if we look at intra-Africa trade, our intra-Africa trade is very much concentrated within the regional economic communities. We trade with our neighbors. We know one another. Those market linkages are established over many, many decades. But now we're opening up trade across the continent. And this is where this cross-regional interaction becomes extremely important. So, for example, in the masterclass, we had participants from across the continent, and that becomes important because we now have focal points in Southern Africa, East Africa, West Africa, Central Africa, North Africa. And the aim is to build a network of journalists and media experts across the continent who specialize in different areas. I think this is so exciting about working with the media, because there is so much expertise in, for example, financial journalism, focusing on relationships with government, on trade, on mining, on particular sector developments. All of that now becomes relevant in the AfCFTA.
With the commencement of AfCFTA, what are we to expect from tralac in terms of monitoring, together with some of your partners? How do you, for instance, want to collaborate with the East African Business Council, the COMESA Business Council, the ECOWAS Chamber of Commerce, and all of that, to be able to monitor and ensure that indeed the AfCFTA benefits the people, the business people, the traders, the SMEs on the ground, so that we are not just going to leave this all-important assignment to only the political or the administrative wing of the continent, but somebody's monitoring and ensuring that we are getting value for money out of this.
Cyril, thanks so much for that. I think tralac, along with so many other civil society organizations and academia as well, plays a very important role here. We work across 3 work pillars. We do research or analysis. We call it analysis rather, because it's analysis of current and emerging developments. So this is where the monitoring function is so important. We monitor literally trade developments on a daily basis, and we have a daily news service. But very importantly, tralac's work is anchored on Africa's trade and integration agenda, basically taking a look at how trade can contribute to development. And we work with governments, government department, regional secretariats, the AfCFTA Secretariat, the African Union Commission, but also, very importantly, with the non-state actors. And business associations are absolutely key as a focal point, an important connection in that value chain to reach the smaller businesses. As far as women in trade, women and youth in trade is concerned, this is a particularly important focus. We've had a program on women traders for some years now. We have a platform together with the International Chamber of Commerce, UPS, and a number of smaller businesses, many of them in Ghana.
And you have West Blue.
Exactly. And Valentina Minta, an icon from Ghana, is very much involved in the program. And we offer training programs. So earlier this week, we had an update on the new initiative for facilitating and guiding trade to start. If we look at our demographics on the continent, then the AfCFTA cannot succeed unless we bring women and youth into the ambit of all the opportunities under the AfCFTA. And we often look to traditional areas where we think, youth may benefit from digital trade. We see them at the cutting edge of those tech developments, the ICT developments, and so on. But of course, they have opportunities across the entire economic sphere. But the digital economy developments are really where tralac is investing quite a lot of energy as well. As we often say, the digital economy is no longer part of the economy, it is the economy.
Yeah.
So digital economy developments, digitization in terms of trade governance is increasingly important as well. So we're also supporting governments.
We are grateful to the remarkable work that's been done by the prestigious Trade Law Center, tralac in short, for all the good work that they have done monitoring the economic and trade space on the continent of Africa. And we hope that they are going to follow this particular agreement keenly, together with the journalists, the team of journalists that they have assembled across the entire continent of Africa. And we on the single African market, we will definitely endeavor to play a small role to support whatever tralac will be doing going into the future. Now, in the coming weeks before we take a break while we package and bring you a lot coming from the guided trade. We will bring you the continuation of our interview with Ms. Grace Koza. She'll be talking a lot about the things that are available and how you can take advantage of that. That should come up in the next episode of the Single African Market. Also, we will hear from the Commissioner of Customs in Ghana. He has a lot on the sleeves for the citizens of the continent of Africa, because he says customs is ready to trade under the AfCFTA, particularly here in the Western Africa region. Customs in Ghana is ready. We'll hear a lot more about what we need to know as far as the area of customs is concerned. We are also going to continue our profile of organizations, businesses, traders on the continent of Africa, small and medium enterprises, conglomerates. And let me just give you a snippet of our impending partnership with the Ghana Investment Promotion Council, which is also documenting a lot of these businesses and what they are doing and how prepared they are for the AfCFTA. Just watch. That remarkable work also being done by the Ghana Investment Promotion Council, and we will be profiling quite a number of all these businesses in the coming season, the next season of the Single Africa Market program, in partnership with the Ghana Investment Promotion Council. Our friends are over there, particularly our boss man himself, Mr. Yofi Grant. Charles is also there. Famous is handling all of these things, and we will be partnering and bringing you quite a number of all these products and businesses that are ready in themselves to take advantage of the continental market. Same way we are partnering with other institutions in other African countries. We'll be showcasing on this platform the businesses that are ready in themselves to take advantage of the AfCFTA, all on the Single African Market the next season, after our short break, as we prepare from the guided trade and bring you the best in the next season of the Single African Market. Coming up next, weather report across the African cities, also the flight schedules from the commercial and trade hub of the continent of Africa to the rest of African cities, and the forex rates for the African market, as well as the AfCFTA status for party states. As I have hinted, next week we should be hearing from Ms. Grace Koza, the head of communications at the AfCFTA Secretariat. We would also be hearing from the Commissioner of Customs of the Republic of Ghana. And also, we will be bringing you a lot of some of these companies that are preparing themselves to take advantage of the AfCFTA Secretariat. Again, the team from the AfCFTA Secretariat, actually led by the AfCFTA Secretariat, the National Office of the AfCFTA Coordination Office in Ghana, have begun the guided trade officially. They're already in Takrade preparing and seeing to the readiness of companies who are going to export under the AfCFTA. At the appropriate time, we are going to gather and document all of that, and it will be shown to everybody on the continent of Africa. We thank you for following this particular platform across the entire continent of Africa and making us the #1 and the most trusted on the continent of Africa. Hope to see you same time next week.
There's a particular in the name of great Africa, is the fight and conquer now. In the name of great Africa, there is in the name of great Africa.